Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be on.
How are you? I hope you're doing well during this time.
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's crazy times, but I do feel blessed and grateful to be in a position where it hasn't really affected me too much, like it has impacted a lot of other people. So yeah, just kind of waiting for things to get back to normal, if it ever does get back to normal. But you got to do what you can do.
I feel like the new normal is going to be like 6 feet apart. Like I feel like school and work is going to be just tremendously different when things actually go back to the normal. I don't know if there is going to be the normal.
Feel the same way. I just hope it does get back to the old normal
No.
because I can't imagine just having to be 6 feet apart like for the rest of our lives or for the next like few years.
Few years. I think it's just so weird because I hear a lot of schools, I don't know specifically if it's California, but a lot of schools in other states, what they're going to do is cut the student body in half. So A through H will be going to school one day and the rest of the alphabet will go to the next day. So it sucks if the rest of your friends' last names start with like the letter S, which is the next day. And so you won't see your friends for like the rest of high school.
Wow, that does suck. What? Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine that. I'm just thinking back to my high school days and I would just be like PO'd about that, having my
Yeah.
friends there.
So how is it fitting into the current situation? Like is it like tremendously changed for you or is it, it's not that bad?
So for me, it hasn't really affected me too much. So I run a branding company with my husband. I'm also an artist. I'm a podcast host as well. And we work from home. So we've always worked from home. So having to work from home because of the isolation and quarantine wasn't really a big change for us. The only thing that really changed was kind of the business kind of slowed down. So we work with clients from all over the world. We have like a client in Switzerland. We've had people like in Canada, China, or whatever, different parts of the states. And people are in different industries too. So we work with a lot of entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs, and people who have service-based businesses. So for example, like the person who lived in Switzerland, they had their own quarantine like stuff going on, and like we had to like put our project on hold. We had a client like in the wedding industry. I mean, that industry has been super impacted by the coronavirus because people had to cancel their weddings. They had to put everything on hold. It's harder to bring in new business. So they had to like let go of a lot of their employees and things and figure stuff out on their end. So from that aspect, like our branding business slowed down. But on the good side of that, the coronavirus and quarantine and pandemic has given us the opportunity and the free time to actually create and self-reflect and do the things that we've always wanted to do and had on the back burner. So like my podcast, which is called gangSTAR Creative, it's something that I've always wanted to do for like the past 3 to 4 years, but just haven't had the time or the mind space to do it. And this basically quarantine gave me no excuse but to actually create it and implement it and launch it. So it's actually recently launched. It's been alive, I guess you could say, for like a month now. And it's been doing really well. And same for my husband. He's working on his second business and passion project that he's had kind of on the back burner too. So it's kind of like, a blessing in disguise as well.
In your podcast, is it by season or is it just by episode like every week?
I release an episode every week. Every Monday, I have a new episode, and I basically interview successful creatives and have them share their story as well as the business side of things. So the whole mission of gangSTAR Creative is basically to annihilate the status quo of the starving artist and help creatives thrive in their business and life. So it's really for any type of creative, whether you're an artist, whether you're a designer, makeup artist, you're an event planner, anything like that, or content creator, YouTuber. I wanted to highlight and share like mostly the business side of being a successful creator, because we always hear like the stories and we hear about their craft, but we don't really hear about how they actually make money. How do they actually land clients and deals and gigs, and more of like the process of how they run their business. So that's pretty much like how that is highlighted. And then I also share some of my own solo episodes too, sharing some strategies and insights as well.
So before we start in talking about your business and your launching and your branding, it's normal here on my podcast to state your favorite beauty product at the moment. And if you don't have a favorite beauty product at the moment, you could just name like a favorite product.
Oh my gosh, favorite beauty product? Well, I would just say I don't know the brand. Like I'm very basic when it comes to makeup, unless like I'm doing a shoot or I'm on camera or things like that. But for me, like I always have to have my liquid eyeliner. I think it's the L'Oreal brand, and I use like the brush, not the felt tip side. I always have to have my eyebrows filled in, some mascara and eyeliner, and I'm good to go. Like that's kind of like my basic. But I have been seeing these ads for these magnetic eyelashes.
Oh, yeah.
A company called like Glamnetic that I've been wanting to try. So, because I suck at putting on false eyelashes. So that's something that I think I want to try that I'm excited to look more into.
Have you been like swerving off? Like I wear like somewhat makeup to school. It's like concealer, but now that we're at home, I wear like zero makeup. Has that changed for you? You still put on
So for me, like I always work from home. So the only time I ever did put makeup on was like either if I was on a video or if like I was shooting stuff, or if we were going out for the weekend. Usually like the weekends is when I would put makeup on, like the most makeup on. But since we can't go anywhere, like I don't really have to do it as much. So yeah.
So, how normal or let me edit that out. Before we start talking about the things you've accomplished through your branding, can you explain just to anyone who's new to the platform, like if they were to see your name and your Instagram or your website, what would you say is one of the main or big purpose of your content?
The main purpose of my content would be empowering artists to thrive in their business and life and to basically annihilate the status quo of the starving artist.
How long are normally your consultant meetings?
Oh, okay. So any meetings that we have with clients, they're usually, it just depends. It could be 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes 2 hours if it's something that we're working on in depth together, or it could be really short, just could be like a quick call. But I would say about an hour typically is like average.
So, now under quarantine, or like before quarantine, what would you say was your daily routine, or has nothing really impacted your daily routine?
For me, I've never really kept a consistent daily routine. I actually feel like the quarantine has made more of a daily routine for me, if you want to call it. Like I wake up typically, depending on how late I go to bed, I have to get like 8 hours of sleep. That's like my golden number of hours of sleep. But I typically wake up around like 9. I get up, walk my dogs, shower, brush teeth, all that kind of stuff. I don't really, and then sometimes me and my husband will like go out and we'll get exercise. So we'll walk, run, do that sort of thing. And then we'll get back in, eat, relax for a little bit. And then I usually don't start working until like 1. And then I'll work from like 1 till, I don't know, like 3, 4. I'll take breaks in between too. Then we'll have like dinner, we'll watch some shows. And usually I get back to work at night too. And sometimes I'll stay up till like 1, sometimes 3 a.m. just working on stuff. So it kind of just depends on what I got going on.
So, you talk about within your branding and your website and your Instagram that you own this business, this creative business, and a lot of people are also within this business too. What do you think sets you apart from all your competition?
Yeah, so when it comes to Strive and Grind, which is the branding agency, basically we work with service-based businesses and solo entrepreneurs and help position them as premium brands in their industry. So basically positioning them to attract the right audience, to charge high prices, premium prices, and to put them in a place where their target market looks at them as the number one in their industry. And what also sets us apart is really our process for helping them do so. So we have this process called the Brand Slam. And basically we deliver a whole rebrand within 45 business days. And that includes everything from getting your brand strategy to your brand identity, like your logo, colors, fonts. We do your website, we do a photo shoot, we do brand collateral, and we do that all within 45 business days, which is pretty unheard of. And our work is really good. So the quality that we deliver for the short amount of time that we deliver is something that definitely sets us apart. And then when it comes to me as a creative leader and then my gangSTAR creative, there aren't a lot of I don't think there's enough creative leaders in the creative industry sharing like the business side of things. So a lot of artists like go to college for art, or some sort of get education for art, or maybe they just like, discover their hobby and their talent, at home. But nobody really knows how to make money from the art. They don't know how to be successful. They don't know how to build a brand. And there's not a lot of books or people out there teaching that. So for me, I kind of stepped up to be that one of those leaders and really help and empower creatives to learn how to make a living from their creative talents.
When did your business begin?
So Strive and Grind began in 2015. Sorry, the branding company itself started in 2015. It started out as like a lifestyle brand back when we were in college in 2012. So it started out as like a lifestyle blog. And then it transformed when we moved to California into a branding agency in 2015.
Where did this inspiration for this business even arise? Like, did you have a job before this? Like, did you have a normal 9-to-5 job before this?
Yeah, so I actually worked, my whole background was graphic design. So I created my website. The first website I ever created was when I was in the 4th grade. And like throughout grade school, I taught myself how to code, how to design, took college classes while in high school doing graphic design and learning about the graphic design industry. Like that was like my goal, was like to be the best graphic designer in the world. And basically I went to college for it, but I didn't really learn anything in school because I kind of already knew majority of the stuff that they were teaching. And so for me, like I've always been a creative, always knew how to design, and that was just something that I was good at. In college, though, I ended up having to take a painting class, and it was in the painting class that I discovered that I loved painting way more than graphic design. I loved the creative freedom that it gave me, and I had decided to kind of like do a 360 and change my focus and career on painting. Funny thing is that like I had mentioned earlier, my husband and I created Strive and Grind to be this cool lifestyle brand and blog, basically empowering millennials to strive to achieve greatness and grind to get there. Because we were reading a lot of like self-development and wealth books in college. We were listening to all these cool podcasts and hearing about entrepreneurs that were like successful, making money, like our age, creating like businesses and things, kind of like how you're sharing, the different type of occupations people can have to be successful out of college. Like we were learning about that kind of stuff too. And we were like, nobody's sharing this information. So we had created Strive and Grind, and it was a blog. We talked about lifestyle, education, finances, all this stuff. We had a clothing line, we had college chapters, we had events, we had sponsored athletes and brand ambassadors. We had all these cool things, right? But we weren't making any money. We just we could create this brand. We weren't making any money. So I was working part-time doing graphic design stuff, freelancing. My husband was working in corporate America and basically he got like a job working for a Fortune 200 or 300 company where it was like a 2-year program, and that moved us out of where we're from, Virginia, to live in Pittsburgh, which then from there we moved to Boston, and his company had acquired a company here in California, and our dream was always to move to California. We had never been in California, but we knew that like that's where we wanted to be. This is where all the entrepreneurs that we were listening to and looking up to like lived and started their businesses. Like San Diego, California is like where we need to go and where we need to be. So he leveraged his connections in his company. And at that time, so he was working in corporate America. I was working part-time as actually a waitress and a paint night instructor. which is like those wine and sip painting like event things. I was one of those instructors. So we leveraged his company to move us out to California. And when we were here, we actually went to our first like entrepreneurial conference. And so we went to this conference, right? And we're there and we're like crossing our arms and we're like, no one's gonna sell us anything. Because usually when you go to conferences, like someone's trying to sell you something or whatever at the end. We just wanted to go because like somebody who we looked up to was a speaker there and we wanted to be around like-minded people. So we go to this event and basically we get sold on what he's selling at the end, which is a $36,000 mastermind and business coaching program. So we hired the guy who ran the event to be our business coach, and we joined his community with other people who invested the same amount of money so that we can grow our business and learn from each other and this business leader. This was $36,000 that we did not have. Granted, like we were 20. How old were we? I was like 24, maybe, like just out of college, 2 years out of college or whatever. We're not making money, like I said, with our strive and grind business at the time. And so we just like used credit cards. But the thing that we're not taught as youngsters like yourself or people listening is like there's good debt and then there's bad debt. And there's the bad debt where like you use credit cards and loans or whatever to buy like clothes or cars or stupid things that don't make you money. But if you go into debt and make investments on yourself and in your business and on things that will give you an ROI, which is return on investment, that will make you that money back and some more, then that's what's called good debt. And so we learned that concept while we were at this event, and that's why we invested the $36,000 into this program. We obviously was on payment plan. We used credit cards to do that, and we knew that with this $10,000 credit card, paying this program for $3,000 a month, like we only had 3 months to like get our ish together and make some money. And so basically it was our business coach at the time that said, you guys are so good at branding. Like you can make some really good money doing branding for other entrepreneurs. And so that was really what made us create the branding company and help other entrepreneurs, brand themselves. And within the first year of pivoting our company to become a branding company, we made our first 6 figures in business. And we also were able to both put in our 2 weeks exactly a year from moving to Cali. So we moved to Cali in March 2015, and then March 2016, we both put our 2 weeks in to become full-time entrepreneurs, and I've been working for ourselves ever since.
Was there ever a financial scare that during or like after that 2 weeks, like, okay, this is our business, like it has to work?
Oh yeah, girl, we overdrafted so many times. There was even one time, and this was kind of like a heavy turning point where like, it's crazy like what you will do and how you can thrive when your back is against the wall. And I think it was that 2015 Thanksgiving, and we were like starting to make money. Like during the first 3 months, like we made like our first $1,000 a month coaching client. And that was like a huge deal for us at the time. And we were like making money, but not quite enough to like pay what we owed and pay the program as well as pay like living expenses. And like, I remember we got $3,000 pulled out of like our own account, which at the time was like all the money we had in the account. And that was like the money that was going to be used to pay for rent. So like, and this was like the day before our day of Thanksgiving. So like my husband had to call our coach and the assistant and like get that money back and like work something out. But it was just like that moment where it's like, oh, this sucks. Like we never want to be put in this position again. We never want to have to overdraft again. Like we need to amplify what we're doing right now and really hustle and really work to make money, because we were just so focused on like staying behind the computer and trying to do just the online way of making money, which works for some people, but sometimes you have to do both. You have to do the online thing, but you also have to get in front of people and talk to people and go to events and network and make new money that way. So that was kind of like the turning point for us at that time.
How did you receive the clients actually? Like, yeah, like as you stated before, like you weren't making any money with your business, but how did it grow tremendously? Like that's pretty quick under the time that you've had. So what would you say was one aspect that really grew your audience and viewing?
Yeah, so the main way that we grew our business and made money was by going to conferences. Because, like I said, we worked and created brands for entrepreneurs. So we went a lot, invested in a lot of different conferences, and in masterminds. So, what a mastermind is basically, the concept of a mastermind is basically two, three, a big group of people who have the same mindset and goal of like bettering themselves. So you can create a mastermind around an interest, whether it's like under a collective topic. Like I could create a mastermind just for like creatives and artists, but I can also be in part of a mastermind of just people who want to grow their business. And there's a lot of value in that because you get to surround yourself with other people in different industries and learn, different techniques and business strategies that they're implementing that you can possibly take and implement into your business, even though they're nothing alike in any way possible. And then you're also just around people who have the same belief systems as far as self-growth and investing in themselves and investing in their business. And what was the number one thing too was just like I said, we invested $36,000 into this mastermind. So everybody who's in the mastermind invested the same kind of money, which means all these people have money to spend. And so thankfully and gratefully, our first clients were people that was in the mastermind with us. And that's what's really cool about a mastermind is like you get to work with each other and help each other grow, and you hire each other and hire and use each other's services. So a lot of the people in the masterminds that we were in would hire us for our services, and that's how we were able to get clients. So that was like masterminds was like the main way, and then also going and investing in conferences, not like free conferences, not like the networking events and socials you go to like throw business cards at each other. It was like conferences that you had to pay, like, the tickets to get in were like $500 or more. And so when you go to places like that, you know that the people in that room also paid $500 or more. And they probably have, a lot of money that to afford whatever your services are. So it's just kind of being smart about being around your target market and also positioning yourself around people who have the money to invest in your services.
Did you put all your time, like 100% of your time, within your business when you did have to start paying the $36,000, or were you still doing your part-time jobs?
Yeah. So when we first did that, we were both working, still working, but we were putting our all into it. Even out of college, when we were living in Pittsburgh and Boston, working on like the lifestyle blog for Strive and Grind, we didn't go out. We didn't spend money on stupid stuff. We didn't really party or make a lot of new friends. Like it was just strive and grind. And so, those are sacrifices you have to make when you're building and creating something. And I can't decide for you, of whether like it's a good thing or a bad thing, because there was a lot of sacrifices in health and even like our relationship, because I'm working with my husband, my partner, which is a whole different monster in itself. And working on a business. So there's things that come with, putting your all into something and not being able to like take breaks or kind of mentally, what do you call it? Like pull yourself away from the actual business itself. It's like everything is just business, 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 and that can have its own negative side effects to that. But that's just like what we had to do. If we didn't do that, we wouldn't, have created such a successful brand. And then even moving here and investing in the business coach and the mastermind, like we wanted to get out of our day jobs. My husband was tired of working in a cubicle. And what was cool from his perspective, which I'll share, I know he's not the one talking, but I know from being his wife, his experience, I know you share with me like going in high school, all you hear is about is, working in corporate America or becoming a doctor or a lawyer. That all sounds nice, but there's also things you have to consider about like, what do you want lifestyle wise? And so, and what will make you happy? And so like, his goal was like to be this, like CIO, like a chief, information officer. So he was like in IT, information technology. And so the program that he was in at the time allowed him to surround himself by all the C-suite and VPs of this Fortune 300, 200 company. And like, this is a company that has like, I don't know, thousands and thousands and thousands of employees, right? And so he was able to see what it was like to be at the top of a company like this. And he realized that is not what he wanted to do. He saw men that were traveling all across the world, all hours of the night. He saw men that were like unhealthy and overweight. He saw people who didn't have wedding bands. And it's just like, this is actually, he had to like reflect and realize that this is actually not, the business. This is not what I want to do. And then for me, like I was working in a restaurant waitressing for 7 years, and working part-time graphic design and doing freelancing. And it was just like, I do not want to do this anymore. I'm so tired of this. So we knew like this is it. Like we moved to California. We saw this Facebook ad for this entrepreneur conference and we invested in this mastermind. So we knew like we don't have a plan B. Like we have to make this work. There's no way. And we're in all this debt. Like we have to make this work. So it was just kind of like having that drive of putting our all into it. And like I said, when we had our back against the wall and we overdrafted and couldn't pay for rent, it was just like, what can we do to make that money? And that was just our focus, was just like making this money, being able to quit our jobs and create that freedom for ourselves to be able to do whatever we want, whenever we want, with whoever we want, however we want. So
What would you suggest for anyone who is about to enter college or, still in high school who also want to create a business and be an entrepreneur? Would you suggest like saving a lot, starting when you're younger, or do you have any other suggestions or tips that would be great to implement before you even start a business?
yeah, that's a really good question. For somebody like yourself or at your age or just in school still, whether even if you're in high school or college or elementary school, I mean, it's so crazy the different types of people I've been able to meet by joining these masterminds, going to these conferences. I've met like 6-year-old entrepreneurs selling lollipops and killing it. I mean, they are killing it. I've met like 16-year-olds who are speaking on stages, making tons of money just from speaking on stages. They've written books, things like that. And so I think it's something, what's important is to know like your age doesn't matter. Even being in these groups, like there's like 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds that like, it wasn't until they were like 40 or 50 that they were able to be successful and figure out what their passion and what their business was going to be. So it's like, I know when you're young, sometimes you hear from older people like, you're young, like just focus on school, just focus on going to college. And like, don't get me wrong, education is very, very important, but there are many ways to get education other than college. There's online courses, there's YouTube, there's business coaches. Like you can spend the money. Like if you know exactly what you want to do, you can hire people who are where you're at, who are doing what you want to do, and pay them directly the same amount of money that you would pay for a college course, and actually get more from it and learn more from it and get the experience that you actually need. So as like a young person, it's just thinking about what are ways that you can learn and grow, and figure out like what are the steps that it takes to get to where you want to be. You have to be, if you want to start a business, it's good to know like what kind of business you want to start, like what it is you want to do or where it is you want to go. Obviously, when you're younger, you don't have to have it all figured out, and that's okay. But if you do have like an idea or an interest, explore that. Like if you're an artist, or a graphic designer, like how I was when I was younger, like I sought out mentors and I reached out to people I looked up to and asked them if they could mentor me. If they owned companies, like try to get an internship, see if you can like get inside the business. And even if it's like a crappy internship or crappy job, at least make the most of it and ask questions, be observant, see how they operate, see how they talk to people in their meetings, how they talk to their clients. And it's just all about learning and growing and figuring out what it takes to do the thing that you want to do. And honestly, the younger that you can expose yourself to self-development, like to podcasts like this one or other podcasts that are out there, whether it's reading books. I mean, I hated reading books when I was younger in high school because you're forced to read those books. Like you don't have interest in it. But if you do have an interest in a certain topic or a certain type of business, buy books around that certain topic or business, and you'll be surprised what you will learn from that. because like I said, I hated reading, but I was into graphic design and art. So I started buying like books related to graphic design, books related to art. And then I started, reading books that had to do with like building your wealth or like growing yourself mentally, physically, business wise. And so it's those type of things that it's never too late or too early to actually start doing, so that you can be your best self and have the right mindset, because starting a business and being an entrepreneur is all about mindset. If you don't have the mindset piece, like, you're not going to be successful, because as great and as fantastic as being an entrepreneur, being an influencer, being a content creator, being a TikToker, being a beauty makeup artist, a dancer, like, as awesome and as amazing as that looks from the outside, the work and the sacrifice and the commitment and the blood and the sweat and the tears and the time that goes into getting to those places where you like see a lot of these people on social media or wherever, like, it's a lot to go through. And if you don't have your mindset in the right place, where like you have, like, you don't believe in yourself, you don't believe investing in yourself, you're not trying to constantly grow and be better, and you're not surrounding yourself around people who believe in you and who can help and support you too, like, you're not gonna make it. Because it's amazing. Like, I think entrepreneurship is amazing. I think owning your own business, being your own boss is amazing. But it's also really, really hard, because you have to you're the one holding yourself accountable. No, you don't have a boss to hold you accountable. Like, you have to make the decision, to take the actions, to make the money, and to make the impact that you want to make in the world. And no one's going to tell you to do that except for you. So if you can't, be disciplined, if you can't work on yourself and be okay with the time and commitment and consistency that goes into being an entrepreneur, then it's not for you.
How do you yourself, as your own boss, or you and your husband, since you are working on this business on your own, you don't have your own boss, how do you guys self-discipline yourself?
It's a very good question. Thankfully, because we're both entrepreneurs, we both hold each other accountable. Like, if I'm slipping, my husband's very like opposite in personality of me, where I'm very chill, go with the flow, creative, artsy, whatever. And he's very like business, like, like blunt, and very like passionate. And so he will not hesitate to tell me if like I'm being lazy or I need to do something or whatever. And then even vice versa, like when I know, because he shares whatever his goals are with me, and so if I know he's not doing something or forgetting something, I always let him know what's going on. And so thankfully, like, not only are we business partners, or like-minded entrepreneurs, but we're also in a marriage and a relationship, and he's my best friend. So we have that dialogue and communication. We're always talking to each other. And so that's basically pretty much the way we've been disciplined, and just also knowing and keeping our why in the forefront. Like, why do we want to create this company? Why do I want to build gangSTAR Creative? Why does he want to build his new business, Black Boss? Why do we have Strive and Grind in the first place? And keeping that in the forefront to also motivate us so that we can get to where we want to take it. So.
And also with, aside from being an entrepreneur and having your business, you are an incredible artist. Like, when I went to your website and your Instagram, like, your work is incredible. With with anyone who sees your work, do you have a sole purpose or like a message that you aim for the audience to see within your artwork?
Yeah, so for my style of artwork, it's something that I've always like continuously exploring, because I've had success in, obviously, like the digital, like agency graphic design space, but not necessarily like the fine art painting space. So that's something I'm always navigating and experimenting with when I do paint. But for me, it's really just inspiring and moving the viewer to be captured in like a trance. So all my paintings are very colorful, usually like strong, sensual women. Like, it's usually portraits or their figure, and I like to capture the essence of that. And when I can see, like when I have shows and stuff, when I see somebody coming up and they're just like captivated by it and they're stuck in that trance trying to figure out what is that emotion that's being conveyed from this painting, feeling those feelings that my muse in the painting is feeling. That's really that has been my objective for my artwork.
You say that you can sell your artwork, or like you have sold your artwork. Around how much do you sell your artwork for?
So it all depends on the size. Obviously, if it's like canvases or if it's a mural. But my canvas work starts at $600 or $700, like $750, and it can go up from there depending on the size.
So for anyone that is, or hold up, let me reword that. Anyone can see from your platform and content that you're just so creative and so passionate about your work. So did you ever consider, you say in your bio that you're into beauty and you're also into the artistic side. Do you ever think of like launching a makeup business or a clothing brand? Have you ever thought of that?
Yeah. So I don't really see myself launching like a clothing brand or a makeup business per se, but I would see myself like licensing my art and partnering with other brands to use my art on their clothing, or even having my art on like, a makeup kit or something like that. Like that would be really cool. But to actually like, I don't really have an interest in creating an actual whole company for makeup or doing clothing. I mean, I've already done clothing with Strive and Grind when we had the lifestyle blog, and that was like a whole beast in itself. So for me, I would love to have my art on clothing, on makeup stuff, but more from like a licensing side, like licensing, giving people permission and having them pay me to use my art on those products. But I do see myself like having some clothing items, like just like small pieces, like with my art on it eventually, but not like a full on like clothing line per se, or the whole like makeup brand.
So like releasing like a merch, just like a small time merch.
Yeah, exactly. Like I could see like hoodies or even like dresses, things like that, or even stuff around the home.
With seeing the future, what do you see yourself doing in 5 years? What do you see yourself accomplishing in 5 years?
Ooh, this is such a deep question. But I see myself in 5 years, one, building gangSTAR Creative to be this huge community movement and platform for creatives. Like if you're a creative, like you're going to hear or know about gangSTAR Creative either through the podcast or be part of the community and the education platform that I'll be creating. Also having my art and building a following for my artwork, a bigger one, to where I can sell a lot more like prints and even merchandise, partnering and collabing with big brands, hopefully like Nike. That's like the dream collaboration would be like with Nike. Like I'd love to do anything, whether it was like a shoe or like some sort of clothing thing, just something like that. And then also having murals in a lot of different cities across the country, or even different areas around the world. I see myself living in a dream house with my husband, with kids. We don't have any kids right now except for our two fur babies. So having kids, and yeah, still supporting him and what he's doing. We may have the branding company still, we may not. We'll see. But yeah, I think that's in a nutshell what I can see mostly for 5 years. But I mean, who expected this coronavirus to happen? So who knows what kinds of changes and things will have to happen.
I mean, yeah, like I just never knew that I always hear about this. Like I take like US history right now, and I always saw in like my textbook and my reading like, oh, like people go through this pandemic, like, oh, you ever wonder like what they go through, and then like you never expect. For us, I don't know, it's just like mind-blowing to see it, like, yeah. It's so weird because I would just see it in textbooks and I'd just be like, oh, I just wonder about it. But it's like I never like wished it upon myself, or never really thought of myself like being in that situation. But now like we're in a historical factor that can be in textbooks forever. So I don't know. It's just crazy. And lastly, What would you say makes you a hashtag girl boss?
Ooh, it's a cool, cute question. I would just say that for me, I what makes me a hashtag girl boss is I want to make a difference in the world. And my way of making a difference is through being an entrepreneur, empowering others to be entrepreneurs, and then most importantly, empowering other artists and creatives to be gangSTAR creatives, to be people who can thrive off of their creative talents and craft, and really sharing with creatives like that it's possible to be successful doing creative work. Doesn't matter what type of creative talent you have, that it is possible, even if it's not full time, you can still make money doing what you love, because some people don't even know that you can make money or don't believe it, because people are like, oh, if you're doing art and creative stuff, like you can't make money from that. It's not like a real job. Or, you hear all these crazy things and you see like the perception of like, oh, if you're an artist, you're automatically a starving artist. Like it doesn't have to be that way. Like I'm empowering people and showing people that whatever you set your mind to, you can achieve and you can accomplish and you can make possible. You can create your own freedom. And anybody who's listening right now, especially since your audience is primarily like young high schoolers, as cheesy as that might sound, like you really do have the ability to create your own freedom. You do not have to follow in anyone's footsteps. You do not have to follow and expect the status quo of yourself. Like you can decide the path that you're going to take. And also know, like, I know in high school, you kind of like that's just like your own bubble and your own world. Like college just seems like so far away, or like seems like such a long time. But as you get older, time does feel like it goes faster. And as you get older, you'll realize that you're going to enter into a lot of different chapters of your life. I mean, high school is kind of like its own chapter. College, if you do go to college, is a whole chapter. And also know it's okay if you don't go to college. Like I said, there's other ways to educate yourself and make money. A lot of the successful entrepreneurs that I know or have read about or heard from, a lot of them didn't go to college and they're doing really well. So if that's not in your path, like that, just know that that's okay. But just know that like you can decide whatever it is that you want to do. There's so many different ways to make money, like so many freaking ways to make money. Just literally, other than the traditional aspects. Obviously, you have to go to college if you do want to be a doctor, lawyer, those types of things. But if you just want to be your own boss, if you want to start a business, like all your information you need are in books, podcasts, going to conferences, paying for online courses. There's so many online courses from amazing experts who teach on the subjects of, creating a beauty brand or becoming an influencer, how to do marketing. There's so much information out there for you to make money. I mean, I met somebody, he's actually a young person at the time. I don't know, he's like 18, 19, I don't know, early 20s, let's say like 20. Okay. And he was like making multiple six figures, and he was in the flying squirrel business. Now, I don't know exactly what he did with these flying squirrels. I think he like sold them and like transferred them to people who buy pet flying squirrels. This was like a kid, 18 to 20, making multiple six figures. I don't know if he went to college or not, doing this business. And I think now like he does real estate investing and he has like a marketing company. So just know like there's tons of people your age and whatever age you're about to be, or even, just 5 years from now, that are doing crazy, amazing things, making a living. But also it's just not about the money. It's also about like the impact you can make. So it's just like using that, not all money is bad, using that money to create an impact in the world, to volunteer and help those communities that mean the most to you and those organizations that mean the most to you. So like I said, just know that you can create your path, you can create your freedom. All you have to do is take action on it and be consistent in whatever it is that you're doing.
Okay, cool. I mean, like, that's just a big help because a lot of the time, especially in high school now, like, I feel like, like I said before, I feel like, it's not just my high school. I hear it all the time where it's like, you should get a stable job. But at this point in time, is there really like a type of job that everyone should be getting? You know what I mean? It's not the same as it was before. Media's growing, technology's growing. There's other, like, a lot of people have been needing media directors, and before they didn't need that. Like, it was because technology wasn't a big thing. So I love how you showcased that type of content to my audience. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I mean, even like you were, to piggyback off of what you were saying, like we have social media. When I was growing up, we had just MySpace and Facebook came out. You guys like grew up on the social media frenzy, and it's like you can create your own brands and your own business and image just from like posting on social media and making money off of social media. Like, I don't know if people listening know this, but like those influencers like that you see on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, one deal with one brand is like minimum $10,000.
Yeah.
And it's just like you can make a living off of that too. And being a millennial who grew up in the generation where our parents, were raised to push you to go to college, like that was like the only way, and to get a corporate job or a government job or whatever. My generation is struggling with paying back student loans because we went to college because that's what we were supposed to do, and it costs a crap ton of money. And to this day, a lot of us are still trying to pay it off. And some of us didn't get the jobs that we were supposed to get, in our industry that we studied for. So, like, it's a huge pandemic. Like, I'm still paying off student loans. My husband's is still paying off student loans, and I am 29, he's 31. So you can kind of do the math there of how long we've been out of college, and we're still trying to pay off these loans. We're kind of hoping for, the government to wipe out student loan debt, so fingers crossed there. But it's also just like, I don't think college is necessary. If I were to go back in time, I don't think I would have gone to college. I mean, I do feel like it helped kind of pave my way a little bit, but did I really need college? Not really. I mean, I didn't even live on campus. I commuted to school. So, I didn't really have like the on-campus experience, which I think is great for people. I think some kids need that or should experience that too. Everyone's different. But I think, like I said, you don't have to go to college, and you don't have to go down the traditional path. You can literally create whatever path you want to make. If you want to travel in an RV across the country and make money and make a living doing that way with your 2 dogs, like, you can do that. Like, I know people, I've met people that actually do that for a living. We have friends that they travel and they live in different countries. Like right now they're in Bali, and all they do is travel, live life in Bali. They have a nice place, and then they post and they blog and that type of thing. Like, you can literally do anything these days.
Okay, so now that we finished all the basic questions, we're going to go to this thing that I have, which is the lightning round. So you have 1 minute to answer as many questions as possible. You can say pass if you don't know an answer, but these questions have nothing pertaining to whatever we talked about today. Nothing about your artistic work, nothing about entrepreneurship. Like, this is all just basic questions, because I believe someone's favorite ice cream flavor can say a lot about their personality. So, are you ready?
All right, let's do it. I'm ready.
Okay, let me get my timer out. No pressure.
I feel it though.
Ready? 3, 2, 1, and go. Skiing or water park?
Water park.
Detective or be a pilot?
Detective.
Any pets and name?
2 dogs, Spazzy and Midget.
Best animal out there?
Lion.
What brand are most loyal to you?
iPhone. Apple.
What life skills are rarely taught but extremely useful?
Sales.
Best superpower?
I'm a good listener.
Weirdest lie you told?
Weirdest lie that I told? Is
Yeah.
that what the question was?
Yeah. Okay.
Pass.
I'm sorry. Like, did I?
It's okay.
I don't know if I said the questions right.
No, it's okay. I just your words blended together. So I was like, what?
But I'm so thankful that you were on today's podcast episode. I truly hope that you really liked our conversation today.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Thank you for having me on, and thank you, listeners, for tuning in and listening to our conversation.
And before we are out, do you want to tell them where they can find you and contact you?
Yeah, so anybody listening can find me either on all social media. It's at Devona Stimpson, my first and last name. And then my website's also devonastimpson.com. And if you want to check out my artwork, it's artbydevona.com.